Hey, so today I am going to do a tag video for you guys. Today I am doing the Omni Reader tag. This was a tag that was created by Emma from A Cup of Books, and I was tagged to do this video by Ellie from Earl Grey Books. I will link Emma's original video as well as her channel in general in the description below, and I will link Ellie's video and her channel in the description below as well. So you should go and check both of those people out. They are both fantastic booktubers. So the Omni Reader tag is a tag that is all about readers who are very wide readers, read a range of different genres and a range of different books from different genres. So it is talking about various different types of readers and how they think about their books. So the way that it works is that you have to choose 4 genres or subgenres or categories, and then you've got 4 questions or 4 prompts that you need to then fulfill for all 4 of those categories. So I've decided to go with, and I'm doing the sub-genre kind of situation. So I'm going to go with classics, but specifically contemporary classics. So classics that at the time that they were written were contemporary to their time, and when I say contemporary in this particular context, I mean the kind of young adult, potentially real life story, contemporary of its time, so on. So they're not necessarily young adult, but that's type of classic. So that's the first genre. My second genre is mystery. And for this one, I'm going to say that includes historical fiction and classics, as well as more contemporary mysteries. So mystery is the next genre. Then I'm going to talk about high fantasy, we'll say adult high fantasy. So this is any fantasy that's sort of set in another world and is that big sprawling storyline with lots of different things happening, political intrigue and so on. I am including in this one grimdark as well as the more kind of traditional high fantasy. And then my last genre is literary fiction. So that can be magical realism or more contemporary, but it is that kind of sprawling literary focus on character and focus on description rather than focusing on the plot specifically. So those are my genres. Classic, which is contemporary to that time, adult, high fantasy, mystery, and literary fiction. So, first of all, I need to tell you my favourite books from that genre. So for classics, I have sort of cheated a little bit because I have got 3. I really couldn't decide between these 3. I've actually done a video which is my favourite classics of all time, so I will link that in the description below as well if you want to go and watch my top 10 favourite classics. But for this one, I have to go with my favourites being Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So that's my favourite classics. Then my favourite high fantasy, adult high fantasy, is the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. So specifically out of that, I would say my 2 favourites are Fool's Fate, which is from the Tawny Man trilogy, and The Mad Ship, which is from the Live Ship Traders trilogy. So that was the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. And then for mystery, my favourite again is a series, and that is the Mary Russell series. So that starts with The Beekeeper's Apprentice. But specifically, I think my favourites of that series, although to be honest I have not finished that series yet, but my favourites of that series is A Monstrous Regiment of Women and The Mall. So I feel like most people know what the Elderling series is, but I should just say the Mary Russells is a historical fiction retelling of the Sherlock Holmes mysteries. And then literary fiction, I went again with 2. It's very difficult, guys, I'm really sorry. I went again with 2 books, and they are The Secret History by Donna Tartt and Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So that's the first part, and they were my favourite books from each of those genres. Then we have currently reading. So books that I think it's books that you are either currently reading or have just finished. So all of these are books that I have finished recently. I'm not currently in the middle of any of these, but the classic is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I finished that about a week or so ago. For fantasy, I've actually included 2 books for this one because I've read both of these quite recently, but I included the second one because I wasn't sure whether the first one counted. So the first one I've said was ACOMAF, so I finished that in early April, A Court of Mist and Fury. I personally would count that as adult. I wouldn't count that as young adult, and I would also count that as high fantasy in the sense that it's in another world and that it features fae and other sort of typical fantasy tropes. So that's why I've included that. But for the purists who would say that that is not technically high fantasy, I would then say Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson was my other most recent high fantasy read. For mystery, my most recent read was The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie, so I finished that not long ago as well. I finished that sort of in the middle of April. And then for literary fiction is The Goldfinch, which I finished just a few days ago by Donna Tartt. And then the next part is to say books that fit into that genre that you are planning on reading next. So, for classic, I think that I'm actually I don't have anything specifically set aside for classics that I'm planning on reading soon, but I think that I would like to delve a little bit more into Thomas Hardy as an author. So Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I talked a bit in more detail about this in my recent wrap-up, which I will link below as well, but I read that when I was 17 as a book for high school, and then I really didn't like it, but then I reread it recently and I did really like it. So I'm interested. I kind of steered away from Thomas Hardy basically my entire life because I didn't like that one book in high school. So I'm actually quite interested now to delve into some more Hardy. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. The next one is high fantasy. That one, again, it will depend on whether or not you consider the ACOTAR series as high fantasy. I personally think they are, but or adult high fantasy, but if you do not, then that's why I've got 2. So the next high fantasy I would like to read are ACOWAR, so A Court of Wings and Ruin, and Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, which is the next one in the Way of Kings series. So I definitely want to read both of those really soon, so they both count. Then we have mystery. So the next book I'm planning on reading for mystery is Murder on the Orient Express, again by Agatha Christie. So this is a book that, again, I'm reading. I read Mysterious Affair at Styles, and I'm reading this one for Eurovisionathon. I'm actually going to be reading Murder on the Orient Express with Connor from Connor's Library Corner, linked below also. So yeah, we always do a buddy read basically every month pretty much, and it's always really fun to do a buddy read with him, so I'm looking forward to doing that with him. And then for literary fiction, the next book that I'm planning on reading is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. So this is also for Eurovisionathon. I will link all the details for Eurovisionathon in the description below as well. And I'm actually going to be buddy reading The Miniaturist with the creator of Eurovisionathon, Helen from Helen's Bookhaven. Again, linked below. Yeah, because she chose this for the Netherlands, as did I, so it seemed like we might as well do a buddy read together. So that is my OmniReader tag for you guys today. Who am I going to tag? So the idea is obviously to tag people who do read quite widely. So yeah, I mean, not that there's absolutely nothing wrong with choosing your genre and sticking to it. If you do that, then obviously, you should do you and enjoy yourself, but I'm going to try and think of people who I think read quite widely as well. So the first person that I am going to tag is Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe. I think that, again, the same as what I was just saying, I think Olivia does read really quite widely, and I really appreciate her thoughts and opinions on the books that she reads. I think she is a very thoughtful reader, and she has a lot to say about books and different topics, so I'd really love to see what she would say for this tag. Who else will I tag? I'm also going to tag Amy from Amy Myers. Similar to Olivia, I think that she reads really, really widely. I think she has really interesting opinions. I would say that she probably reads fairly differently from me. She reads a lot more horror than I do, and I think she reads quite a bit more non-fiction than I do, so I'd be very curious to see what she thinks of this tag as well, what she has to say. See if I can think of a third person. I'm going to also tag Scott and Nell from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, because again I think they read really widely and I think they have some really interesting stuff to say, so I'd be very keen to see what they thought, what their answers to all these questions are. So all those people, please consider yourselves tagged. Of course, if you've already done the tag or if you don't want to do the tag, then feel free to ignore me. I'm not certain whether all of these people follow me, so I'll make sure that they do find out that I've tagged them. And yeah, if you have seen this tag and you really want to do this tag, then also consider yourself tagged. So anyway guys, that's it from me today. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to comment on any of the books that I mentioned, or the tag in general, or really just anything, please do so below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.